Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable, my supervisor, Meme answer Aziz. And the Honorable, my examiner, Mem Ira answer Mulyadi. Allow me introduce myself. My name is Prichilia Agustin. I am from English Education Study Program. So, today I want to present my research proposal entitled Student Perception on Collaborative Learning in Improving Writing Skills. So, let me turn to the chapter 1. First is the background of the study. Language skills and components. The language skills are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And the language components are vocabulary, structure, pronunciation. One of our skills, writing, is skills that is used to communicate indirectly without face-to-face interaction. It is also nonverbal communication. The second is collaborative learning, useful for students in classroom situation. In an individual learning system, the teacher provides the information to the students. It makes the student passive. On the other hand, collaborative learning gives choice for the student. Here, the student do not only listen to the teacher, but also participate during the teaching and learning process. The student will dominate the class, but they still are controlled by the teacher. And the last is student unmotivated to do an assignment individually in writing. Because in writing, we should pay more attention towards spelling, punctuation marks, diction, grammar, purposes of their writing, and ideas of their writing itself. So, many strategies are used for the students by teachers to help them learn English. Successful teachers are doing a good job when they can deliver the material well because they use a good strategy to teach students. Good strategies such as group work help the students to understand the material in learning and help them to achieve their goals. So, the importance of this research is to know about the student perception. The students have a positive perception if the result is positive. On the other hand, the students do not have a positive perception if the result is not positive. Okay, next is the statement of the problem. First is they frequently are being confused about what to write and how to start. And the second is the student participation is still low in the learning process and low interest to participate in the learning process. So the researchers wanted to see student perception about a collaborative learning model. Collaborative learning is not just activity on student grouping or giving them the group task. In this activity, students grow together in giving meaning to the contextual phenomena. Next, research question. I have one research question. As what is the student's perception of collaborative learning in improving writing skills? An objective of the research is to know the student perception of collaborative learning in improving writing skills. Okay, next is significance of the research. The first is for the teacher, for the student, and for the future researchers. For the teacher, the teachers also can use this research as the teaching reflection. The teachers also get more information about the importance of collaborative learning to enhance students' writing skills. And B, for the student. The student the student get more knowledge about the use of collaborative learning, and student can know about the benefit of collaborative learning. And the last is for future researchers. This study can give a good contribution to other researchers who are interested in this topic. The information can be used as researchers for other research who are interested in the study. Besides, it can help them to do further research. Next, limitation of the research. The application of collaborative learning models in this study has limitation within English education study program students in Bengkulu University. Next is definition of key terms. The first is perception. Perception is the response of the neurons that could be influenced by the experience. B. Collaborative learning. Collaborative is a powerful method of writing that encourage cooperation, critical thinking, peer learning, and active participation toward an end product. And the last is writing skills. Writing is one of the manifestations of linguistic components that are expressed in the form of written language use other than in the form of spoken language. Okay, next, let me turn to the chapter 2, literature review. The first is perception. Wick and Peck, 1978, note that perception and experience have a strong connection. In this study, the researchers is interested to find out the student perception of the use of collaborative learning to increase student writing skills. It has been explained before that experience and perception have a connection. In this case, if the student feel that learning together is beneficial, the result will be positive. And then, according George and Jones 2005, perception refers to the whole experience of the world involving further processing of sensory input. Perception is the process by which the individual select, organize, and interprets the input through the sense. Therefore, stimulus and response to the information are called perception. It is according from George and Jones 2005. And the last is Gibson, Ivanovich, and Donnelly. There are some factors influence perception, namely the stereotype, selectivity, self-concept, situation, need, emotion. The stereotype is related to how a group sees the phenomena. The selectivity is related to the sensory input. It's more about sensory like eyes, ears, mouth, etc. The self-concept is related to how people look at the environment surrounding them. And then the situation is related to the surrounding environment, whether it support people or not. And the need is related to things that people want. The people will give more effort if they want something. And the last is the emotion. Is related to the feelings. Next is writing. B in literature review, as the second is writing. Richard and Renandia, writing is the most difficult skill for second or foreign language to master because as considered as a complex process of putting ideas down on paper to transform thoughts into words. And the second is Trika in Rahardian, writing is a way of communicating a message to a reader for a purpose. And then the last is Separate, Pulfernus and Williams, writing as communicating a message by making signs on a page. So, these two definitions mention two important elements of writing. Example is communicating and a message. Communicating is a sharing information. It means that the writing activity needs a communicator and a receiver to share the information. In this case, there should be a writer and reader. Meanwhile, a message is content that is delivered in the written form. And then collaborative learning. And the last is collaborative learning. Many definitions in collaborative learning. The first is collaborative learning is expected to fulfill the need of both teacher and students. The second is collaborative writing is two or more persons working together to produce a written documents. And the last is, according Hernandez, collaborative is a powerful method of writing that encourages cooperation, critical thinking, peer learning, and active participation toward an end product. So, based on this explanation, it can be assumed that collaborative writing is a teaching writing method by involving students writing in groups, reading and talking about writing, and giving evaluation to the writing. Traditional teaching writing emphasize the theories of writing and the domination of the teacher. But nowadays, it is different. The application of collaborative writing requires, for instance, the students to be more active and involve a whole part in their writing study process. Every student has their right to ask a question, comment, and convey suggestion on the writing. Indirectly, students can learn from their own mistakes, and so do their friends. Okay, next is the previous study. Consists of three. The first is Titi Sekarpalupi, Nayan Safi Mansur and Maisin, and the last is Francisca Aventia Destriana 2018. So, those previous studies above used as references for the researchers in conducting this study and also as the comparison between those relevant studies with the study conducted this time. From these previous studies, it can be concluded that the use of collaborative learning strategies has a big impact in improving student ability in understanding the material. So, my research has similarities and differences from the previous study I took. The similarities with Titi Sekarpalupi 2018 and Francisca 2018 is to use a survey method using an instrument questionnaire. The differences between this study and previous studies from Titi Sekarpalupi examines speaking skills, and my research examines writing skills. While previous studies from Francisca 2018 used the instrument same my research, but she only used open-ended question. And Nayan 2009 instrument is different from her research. Her instrument is interview and discussion. Okay, the last is the chapter 3, research methodology. The first is research design. The research employed a quantitative paradigm. The researchers used a survey as the most appropriate method. A survey was chosen because the researchers wanted to know about the student perception. Ari, Jacob, and Razavi 2002 explained that a survey can be used to measure the student perception. Next is the population and sample. The population was the English Language Education Study Program student at Bengkulu University. And the participants have consisted of 30 students. Next is instrument of the research. The researchers used the questionnaire to find the information. There were two types of questionnaire, namely open-ended question and closed-ended question. In open-ended question, the participants were free to answer the question based on their opinions. The benefit of this type was to get more information about the problem that was conducted by the researchers. Then, in closed-ended question, the participant answer the question by choosing multiple choice. The benefit of this type was the researcher give limited answer for the participant, so that the answer was wider and out of the thread. Next is research procedure, consists of five. The first is development and operationalization, and the second is instrumentation and piloting of the instrument, and the third is data collection, which will proceed in the following sequences, and the fourth is data analysis and interpretation, and the last is reporting. Okay, next is validity and reliability. In the process of making the instrument, the researchers use the piloting process to check the validity and reliability. Cohen, Lawrence, and according Cohen, Lawrence, and Morrison 2011 argue that pilot, and pre-pilot are important in the survey method. Pre-pilot usually consists of a set of questions in the form of multiple choice. The piloting was used to test the questionnaire whether the instrument was valid or not. The piloting was used by the researchers before giving the questionnaire to the respondent. The function of piloting was to ensure that all questions in the questionnaire were valid. Besides, it was used to check grammatical errors. In this research, the researchers used 10 volunteers to do the pre-pilot and pilot. Before doing the survey, the researchers distributed the questionnaires to 10 participants. Each participant should fill the questionnaires. After the participant filled the questionnaire, they should give feedback to the researchers. Next, the researchers counted and checked the result of each respondent to know whether the result was normal or not. If the result was normal, so the questionnaire was ready to be distributed to the participants. On the other hand, if the result was negative, the researchers then revised some statement on the questionnaire in the last steps. In the last steps, the researchers distributed the questionnaire to the respondent. Okay, the last is data analysis method. The researchers used two general steps of quantitative analysis research, namely data analysis and hypothesis testing. Data analysis aim to help the researchers to understand the finding of the research. The data will be obtained by conducting the questionnaire. To analyze the data, the researchers use the survey method. And the second is hypothesis testing. The researchers use null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis statement is the student perception of use of collaborative learning to improve students' writing skill is not positive. And then in alternative hypothesis, this statement is the student perception of the use of collaborative learning to improve student writing skills is positive. Okay, I think that's all about my research proposal. Thank you for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.